Some buildings are abandoned, others are forgotten. This hospital was neither. Long after its final patients were discharged and its future sealed with red tape and dust, the building continued to breathe. Pipes whispered in the walls, lights flickered without reason, and at night, when the world outside moved on, the past refused to let go. Tonight, one nurse works the night shift alone. She believes she is caring for the living, but the hospital has been waiting for her. The old hospital never slept. Long after visiting hours ended and the last elevator doors closed, the building continued to breathe. Through rattling pipes, flickering lights, and the quiet hum of machines left running out of habit rather than hope. On the third floor, Elena, the night shift nurse, signed her name into the logbook at 11:47 p.m. She was alone. The hospital was scheduled for demolition, but for now, it remained a decaying giant full of locked wings and forgotten rooms. The night shift was quiet, but quiet in this place never meant peaceful. As Elena placed the pen down, she noticed something that hadn't been there before. A patient file lay open on the counter. No name, no room number, only a handwritten note on the cover. Elena frowned and reached for it. The moment her fingers touched the paper, she recoiled. The file was freezing cold, as though it had been stored in ice rather than a cabinet. The lights above the nurse's station flickered once. Then Elena heard footsteps. Soft, slow, approaching from the end of the corridor. She looked up. At the far end of the hall stood a nurse, not a modern one. The woman wore a long white dress, sleeves buttoned at the wrist, her hair pinned beneath an old-fashioned nurse's cap. She stood perfectly still beneath a buzzing fluorescent light.
Hey!
Elena called out, but the woman didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked away, her movements smooth, almost gliding toward the East Wing. The East Wing had been closed for decades. Elena followed. The air grew colder with every step. Dust coated the floor. Old hospital beds sat abandoned behind cracked doors. Curtains hung limp, like skin that had forgotten its body. The nurse stopped in front of room 312. The door creaked open by itself. Inside stood an old hospital bed, leather restraints still strapped to its frame. The nurse turned.
My name was Margaret,
she said softly. Her voice echoed strangely, as though the walls themselves were listening. Margaret had worked the night shift, long before Elena. She spoke of patients growing ill without reason, of questions that no one wanted answered, of warnings dismissed as paranoia. As she spoke, bruises appeared on her wrists, purple, finger-shaped. The room changed around them. Paint peeled away, furniture faded, time folded inward. The hospital came alive. Doctors moved through the halls. Nurses hurried between rooms. Margaret stood younger now, alive, standing before a tall doctor with sharp eyes and a reassuring smile. Dr. Hale. She told him something was wrong. He told her not to worry. The memory darkened. Night returned. Margaret lay restrained on the bed, terror in her eyes. The room was soundproof. No one could hear her scream. Dr. Hale stood over her with a syringe in his hand.
You saw things you shouldn't have,
he said calmly.
You asked questions.
The injection stopped her heart. He wrote it down as a natural death. The memory collapsed. Margaret stood before Elena once more, her uniform stained, her neck bent at an impossible angle.
They erased me, but the hospital remembers.
Lights shattered overhead. Elena stumbled back into the main corridor, alone. The nurse's station phone rang. She answered.
Elena,
A calm male voice said.
this is Dr. Hale. I need you in Ward C.
The line went dead. On the counter, the patient file lay open. Now it had a name. Margaret Hayes. Cause of death, natural. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. And somewhere deep within the walls, the hospital breathed, waiting to see if this time, the truth would survive the night. The hospital did not claim another life that night, but it did not let the truth die either. Some ghosts are born from fear, others from injustice. Margaret never wanted revenge. She wanted to be remembered, and as long as these halls still stand, as long as footsteps echo where they shouldn't, the past will continue to whisper. Not all deaths are natural, and not all nurses go home when the shift ends.